What's up, Conference USA fans? Welcome back into another episode of CUSA Insider, the official podcast of Conference USA. We're ready to talk some more CUSA football after an exciting week 3, looking into week 4, and joining us again here on the pod. Thank you so much for taking my place last week. Josh Yonis is back again, I guess, in the co-host role. I don't know. You're the host too.
Yeah, always happy to help. It's very fun to sit over there and get other people like Trey on to help talk through all this. Obviously with a lot going on, you definitely need the help. So
yes, it was nice to get Trey involved last week. I know some people really like to hear from him. Hopefully we can get him in the fold a couple more times this year. But I liked the way you guys did the show last week, so we're going to do it the same way. We're going to start with something super fun with our top plays, and then we have 2 interviews again this week. We got student athletes on the show this time for you. You had 2 head coaches last week. We have 2 student athletes for you this week. You'll have to stick around and see who we're interviewing, but let's just go ahead and roll right into our top plays from week 3. All right, starting off at number 5, we have, let's see here. Oh man, Cam Franklin's interception. He's incredible.
Yeah, and the La Tech defense back in the top plays for second time in the first 3 weeks of the season. I fully anticipate that they will be making a lot more top play worthy plays. Through the stretch. So.
Absolutely, especially with that defensive side of the ball. All right, let's move right on into number 4. Nick Minicucci put the team on his back over the weekend. 5-yard rushing touchdown from him.
Yes, capping an incredible comeback here. He says, "You know what? I'll do it myself."
Yes.
I'm gonna get this dub.
I loved it. All right, let's move right on to number 3, McGuire Anderson. This 46-yard reception. I was watching this game very closely. I loved it. The diving catch. I hate that it didn't actually go for a touchdown, but it set him up for one. So
close. I know, it's funny because I know we were talking about getting our plays out on social, and I was like, the 1-yard run was fine, but I was like, Zuri, you gotta go watch this play right before that.
That was insane. And the guy had no touchdowns. I felt so bad for him. And that incredible play, so many other good ones.
He made another one later on in the game, too. So, McGuire Anderson turned out to be a fun target for P1 Bengals.
Absolutely. All right. Number 2, Amari Odom, 12-yard rushing touchdown, bouncing off of all the defenders on his way there. I think I tweeted out a joystick with this one.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, some video game moves right here. Bounce, bounce. Oh, man, that looks awesome.
The balance to be able to stay up, and then, adds a little spin move right there at the end to get in the end zone. You could tell he was feeling it. All the Owls were excited to get in the first win of the season.
Absolutely.
We'll talk more about that one later.
All right, and at number 1, you'll hear us talk about it again later, Kyrie Duplessis? I can never say his name right.
Yes.
Yeah, 68-yard touchdown catch. Absolutely incredible. On the actual call from Delaware, they're saying, "You got moss." And I love it.
It was up high points this one. Incredible athleticism to stay on his feet here and get down the sideline, get some more yards. Kyrie Duplessis has 2 number 1 plays through the first 3 weeks of being in Conference USA, playing football in Conference USA. That's a pretty incredible track record.
That's pretty awesome. We keep a lot of track of how many players of the week a certain student athlete has won. We might need to start making some tally marks next to who has been a feature point during our top plays of the week throughout the season, because he's the front runner at this moment.
I don't think that'll be the last.
Yeah, me either. He's incredible. Well, speaking of the Delaware Blue Hens, that is the first of our 2 interviews that we have coming up today. We got to catch up with quarterback Nick Minicucci after their huge overtime victory against UConn, their first FBS win against an FBS opponent this weekend. So stick around for that one. All right, Conference USA fans, joining us now here on CUSA Insider after an incredible overtime victory over the weekend, we have Delaware's quarterback Nick Minicucci joining CUSA Insider today. Nick, thanks so much for being here after a thrilling victory over the weekend.
Thank you guys so much for having me. That was incredible. Huge shout out to coach and staff, Coach Carty, Coach Goldrich, for getting me right this week. Big, huge shout out to the O-line. They blocked their tails off. And huge shout out to running backs and receivers and everyone who was a part, and the tight ends, for being great teammates and always being there for me, and just having fun, really.
Yeah, tell us what the vibe's been like around the locker room since then. Has it really just kind of sunk in yet? Like, how big of a win this was for you guys?
We're really excited, but we're more of a we just won a big game in overtime, but we got a game this week. We got FIU, so we're already starting to prep for that. We take our wins and we kind of stay. We get really excited when we win, but we're not going to get too like our ego's not going to get too high or too low. It's not how we roll. We're kind of a very level-headed group, and we're already on to FIU.
Well, I know you want to talk about the FIU game. We want to talk about the FIU game too, but we have to rewind the clock just a little bit to talk about this game against UConn. Very humble at the top of the show, thanking your O-line, thanking the running backs and the whole team that got you into that victory. But, I mean, you look at your stat line over the weekend, Nick. 4 total touchdowns, 3 of those on the ground, including the overtime winner there against UConn. How was this game for you just overall? I mean, a complete performance from top to bottom. Just tell us a little bit about what got you going and how you feel after this weekend.
I just think it was like all the prep I did this week. I mean, I'm very big on details and watching film and taking extra notes. That's just how I perform better, I'd say, in my game. And I'd just say I was really ready this week. I was really prepared and just excited to have the opportunity to get my number called at the end of the game. And I couldn't have done it without my teammates, obviously, and without my coaches.
I know Ryan probably doesn't want you giving away too much, but take us into that huddle a little bit and going into that last play. Like you said, you get your number called on that option play. What were you seeing on that one as the play developed?
I just read. I don't really want to get into too much detail, but I do read a certain person on that, and my read told me to pull it, so I did, and I kind of followed my pulling guard. And shout out to Jakari Kelly because he came flying in and took out the safety, which gave me a huge avenue to crease it to score.
Yeah, I mean, a huge teamwork effort, as you mentioned, as Sarah mentioned, in this win. I think one of the biggest pieces that, some fans maybe not notice that, aren't true Delaware fans. Steven Deboski, his first game, at the center position for you. I'm sure you guys have a great relationship with your experience with him last year and just what fans had been expecting from him. What was that like going into this week, knowing that you kind of had him back on the line and reuniting that partnership?
So earlier in this week, we really didn't know if Demba was going to go, because he was obviously battling something with his foot. But I never got to play with Demba actually. That was the first time I got to play with him because I was always playing with Brock Gingrich the year before. And Dembo he's an animal. He's the nicest kid you'll ever meet, but when he puts that helmet on, he's a different player, and he brings a different. He's a super smart kid, and referee brings a different type of asset for our team. And I know Finn was our center the week before and the week prior, and he did a great job. But Finn is the type of guy that just wants to get downhill and just lay somebody out. He doesn't really care about making the checks, and he obviously does it and does a great job doing it when his number's called. But he wants to get downhill and go hit somebody. And I think Dembo being in there making the calls gives the O-line a better opportunity to do their jobs. But if Finn's in there, I mean, we feel really comfortable as well because he is a vet and he's an amazing football player as well.
Awesome. Well, you mentioned obviously your O-line doing great, and obviously you have 4 total touchdowns, but you had some great performances out of Joe Silver and Kyrie Duplessis this weekend as well. Tell me what it's like to play with those two guys who really just have your back on the offense. If you're not playing your best, if you're not getting your touchdowns down, you know that you have 2 guys there with you who can make big plays. So tell me a little bit about what it's like to play with those two.
To play with Joe and Kyrie is special. Kyrie coming from Coastal Carolina, he didn't really have that many catches last year, and I just love the fact that I get to throw him the ball, and he's always in the right spot. Super smart kid, great athlete, and just a really nice kid, to be honest. And same with Joe. Joe is just a workhorse. When in doubt, like Joe's gonna pick up in protection. He's gonna find if there's a flat route, he'll be there. And he runs the ball hard as heck. I mean, he's a great player. I love having him in the backfield with me. It's always fun. We've been doing this since my true freshman year, me and him back there. So it's been amazing.
And you talk about people who are intellectuals too when you were talking about Dembo earlier, but Joe Silver was at media day with us, and that guy is smart, as smart gets. And so I know that it's awesome to have him back there. 179 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns for Joe. And then Kyrie, you threw up that awesome pass there in the second quarter. Insane catch to give him that touchdown. That's got to be. We haven't chosen our top plays yet as we do this interview yet. It's gonna be in there. Yeah. I can tell you that much.
Top 2.
That one's definitely up there. That was a heck of a catch. We always preach just give him a chance, and he took that opportunity, and that was amazing. Crazy catch.
Yeah, I mean, you've given him plenty of chances through the first 3 games this year. What's been the key to you guys developing that great connection, the quarterback wide receiver duo there? Obviously the first time you guys are getting to work together, so I'm sure it's still a little fresh, but is there, kind of a good off the field chemistry that plays into that?
Yeah, we talk a lot during the week about certain looks. I remember we were talking a lot about if it's cover 2 on this certain play, kind of tempo in a window. I mean, we communicate a lot. I communicate with the receivers a lot. We watch film together all the time. And I just think getting on the same page is the best thing we can do, knowing exactly where we're going to be on each spot, what I'm looking for, what they're looking for. It always helps us. And we always go over the call sheet the night before the game, just in case there's any questions and just to kind of clear up the fog if there's any. So we all have a really good relationship, and me and Kyrie are showing a lot of chemistry on the field, but it's not just me and him. It's every receiver's on the field. They know what they're doing, and they trust me, and I trust them. And who's ever on the field every one of our receivers on our team can play.
Well, you look at the game as a whole, obviously tons of fun to watch, lots of back and forth, overtime game. You guys win it at the very end there as time was pretty much expired and pull it out. First FBS win over an FBS opponent. But what I got out of the whole thing, let me tell you, because you guys are new to the league, was the tub. The atmosphere in that stadium is absolutely incredible. It was packed out. It was loud. Tell us a little bit what it's like to play there and get your conference opponents ready, in a sense, to come in there and play. What is it like there in the tub on a Saturday?
It's loud. So, everyone from Delaware is, huge, diehard Blue Hen fans. So they travel from wherever they are from in Delaware, and they come to all of our games. I know a lot of the older guys and older women have season tickets, so they don't miss a game. And, I mean, they're yelling 24/7. I mean, some stuff, they can get a little brutal in there, I'll tell you that much. I know that from firsthand. My true freshman year, I was getting heckled by a fan in a playoff game, but they're great fans. They're awesome, and I'm glad they're on my side.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly paid off for you guys, extended that home winning streak. You guys haven't lost a home game since the end of the 2023 season. So obviously pretty incredible what you guys have done inside the tub. Take me into some of those moments in the game. Obviously with a back and forth game like that, there was plenty of tense moments, but certainly there at the end of regulation and in overtime. For you as the starting quarterback, I know that, going into the year, you weren't QB1. You've kind of been thrust into this role a little bit. How do you kind of take ownership of this role that you get, keep your guys, level-headed in those tough moments? And what do you say to them to really just kind of keep them locked in?
We do this every day. That's what I said to them going into 2-minute drill. We practice 2-minute all the time. We practice it 4 times during camp. We are a drop back team where we do this stuff every day. So it's nothing different. It might be 2 minutes left on the clock, might be 30 seconds. This is what we do, and we're comfortable doing it. It's just do your job and trust each other, trust everyone around you, trust the coaches. Because if there's no trust, then what is there? So, I mean, we trust each other so much that when in doubt, who's playing, doesn't matter who's on the field, we're going to get the job done.
All right. I'm done asking you questions about the UConn game. If Josh is done asking you questions about the UConn game,
we can move on from the UConn game. I just want to get a little bit more, about you again. Like I mentioned, I know that the first drive didn't go as planned. With Zach going down and then you coming in, that wasn't new to you. I know last year you kind of came in, you got to start a handful of games. So you had the experience of coming in and being QB1 for the Blue Hens. But what have been some of the lessons you've learned from the first few weeks of being QB1 for an FBS team now, and just other things you want to work on? I'm sure that getting some high praise from Prime himself after the Colorado game had to feel pretty good too.
Yeah, I mean, I have been doing this for a while, like not being named the starter, which is not my decision, obviously. But I thought I had a pretty good camp, and when they told me I wasn't going to be the starter, I mean, I was, I knew we had a good guy in there to do it anyway. And then when Zach went down, I just, like I'm the starter every week, regardless of situation. So I felt very prepared, and yeah, I mean, I appreciate Coach Prime saying that about me. That was pretty cool, having a Hall of Famer talk about you like that. But for me, my game, what I want to improve or what I've noticed through the first 3 weeks is just details are everything. The smallest detail can win or lose you a game. And that's really what I've been focusing on is just strictly details about my drops, about like when I'm doing 3-step drop, I'm hitching on this play, if what I should see on safety rotation, corners, like just details mean everything when you're going into a big game, and focusing more on them can make me even a better player or make anybody a better player.
Awesome. Well, I want to talk about the FIU game now.
I was going to say, both of you guys coming off of dog fights this past week, probably couldn't set the stage any better for your CUSA debut, going down to Pitbull Stadium in South Beach against a hot FIU team, under a first-year head coach. As you guys kind of put, a big win behind you and shift preparations to this week, I know preparations probably don't change week to week too much, but just kind of talk us through, how you guys are kind of turning the page into another milestone game.
Yeah, well, it's our first in-conference game, so it's a little highlighted now because it's conference play now. So I think the preparation will stay the same, obviously, but we're going to be more excited that we're playing in conference. And yeah, FIU is a good team. I mean, I watched some of the highlights. They do some really cool stuff on defense and on offense. And it's gonna be fun. The rest of going down to Pitbull Stadium, playing in Florida. It's where my cousins are from, so gonna have a big crowd coming from Florida, which is gonna be fun. Have some family there. But we're gonna prepare the same way. We're gonna do what we do every week. And yeah, it's gonna be a fun game.
I love to hear that you're going to have some family there. It's always fun when you've got some hometown people in the stands for you. But yeah, looking at this game for FIU, is Coach Carty saying anything different maybe in the locker room? Just because it is your first game in conference play, an early conference play game, the only one in CUSA on the slate this weekend too. So you're going to have a lot of eyeballs on it in general. But anything he's saying differently, this game does feel like it means a little bit more. Obviously, huge implications if you get to the end of the season and you're looking at a CUSA championship.
Yeah, he was saying a lot about it's first in conference game. Really, he was just mentioning that it's going to be same preparation, but it's an in conference game. It's a little bigger of a game for us. But I mean, every week's a big game, so we don't really change the way we do anything. It's just this is our first in conference game in a new in a new week, so it's gonna be fun. I'm just excited to be a part of it.
Yeah, and I think what I love about this game too, and it's kind of the same way with La Tech New Mexico State this past week. Maybe not a game that early on in the year a lot of our fans had penciled in as a big game, but now you kind of see the way that both teams have come out early on in the season, and you're like, oh, okay, these could be. I know that obviously with the transition, you guys technically aren't bowl eligible right now, but could have an opportunity just like Jack State did a couple of years ago to find your way in a bowl game. So this game becomes that much more important as both teams are trying to get back into bowl eligibility.
Yeah, it's exciting. And Josh mentioned both of you guys coming off of huge wins. Obviously, you guys won against UConn. FIU wins their first Shula Bowl since 2016 against Florida Atlantic. So lots of notes coming into this game, I guess I'll say. We're super excited to see it. It's going to be this Saturday, September 20th, Delaware at FIU, 5 p.m. Central Time on ESPN+, 6 p.m. Eastern Time for all of you Delaware and FIU fans over there on the East Coast. So, Nick, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate the time. Have a good time at practice this week. Keep doing what you're doing because you're doing great.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Thank you so much to Nick for joining the program. And we're going to go ahead and get right into it and recap that game. We're going to recap a lot of our games in week 3, but starting with that one, that overtime thriller against UConn. We talked about it a little bit with Nick, but let's just go into some of the details about that game because it was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it was great. 44-41 overtime. It was the first FBS versus FBS game at Delaware Stadium since they joined this year, and had the win over Delaware State earlier, so it's kind of another added milestone that they got to win over an FBS program as an FBS program. I'm ready for that terminology. Just now it's history.
Yeah, it's history. So
every win is just another regular win, but this one was insane. 9 lead changes in this game, more than 1,000 yards of total offense combined by both teams here. Both offenses were firing on all cylinders right out the gate too. I mean, both of them had scored on 4 of their first 6 drives in the first half. So I mean, the offenses came to play, defenses came to have to lick their wounds sometimes, but I mean, Nick Minicucci finished 265 passing yards, had a touchdown, had 3 rushing touchdowns, including the game winner, which we talked about plenty with him. And then, I mean, the defense, while they did struggle for Delaware, they did, kind of step up when it mattered most.
Yeah, they made a huge stop there in overtime to be able to seal the victory, really. I mean, Nick Minicucci obviously made that final touchdown to get them the win, but really great offensively. Like you were saying, Joe Silver was great. Kyrie Duplessis was great. I thought that, there were some other wide receivers that we didn't talk about as much during our interview that did a great job. Nick definitely did his job giving the offensive line their flowers because they are very important. Obviously, when you have a great offensive game, they are a huge part of that. I think that was a huge win for them in overtime too, just to be able to pull that one out to say, we can make it through these hard, tough fought games. I know that Coach Carty was really proud of them. And then, gosh, we talked about this with Nick. That is a crazy game day atmosphere there.
Yeah, the tub was bumping. They had it packed, and he definitely gave a lot of love to the fans, and they played into that win for sure. And of course, we can't forget special teams. For Nate Reed, I have to imagine that was tough, right? You missed a potential game-tying field goal earlier on in the fourth quarter. You have to go back out there to send the game in overtime. Nerves at an all-time high, but probably not, 'cause he's a college kicker. He knows how to kind of temper some of that stuff. But I'm sure, it was still in his head a little bit, and goes out there, drills a 43-yarder to send him to overtime, let the Blue Hens take care of business there.
Yep, I always say it. I would never, ever be a college kicker, ever.
It sounds great, right? Because you don't have to take many hits. You can win games, right, with one kick, but you lose a lot of games, and there's a lot of pressure there. But I mean, biggest takeaway here, I think, is that Delaware truly showed that they belong, right? And I think we knew that across multiple sports, but really at the the FBS level, we knew once they got that first win and showed people, hey, we're for real, we put a lot of investment into this. We've got a great coach, great kids, and they just went out there and executed and got the win. And I mean, this is a UConn team that won 9 games in 2024.
Yeah,
and Jim Mora's done some great things building up that program. So for them to get a win like that against a team like UConn definitely sends off the the alarms to other teams across the country and other teams on their schedule.
Yes, exactly. And we'll talk about this in a little bit, but they've got a big conference matchup this weekend. Should be fun to watch. But
very big.
Some other wins across the conference. Middle Tennessee, they came back and they won it against Nevada.
I know. I had this in my notes. This was the furthest west that they had gone in the contiguous United States in program history. They had played one game at Hawaii way back when, but somehow this was the furthest west they've ever gone in 100 years of playing college football.
Very interesting.
But maybe that's what got them off to the sluggish start. The long trip out there, I don't know what it was, but you're down 13-0 with under 7 minutes left. I'm sure a lot of other teams would have just not hung their heads and just kind of took the loss. But Nick Vadiato, a proven leader, really stepped up for this team, led them to a big comeback win. This was the last time a CUSA team came back from down 13 with that little time left, was FIU down 13 to Charlotte with 4:21 left on October 15th, 2016. So almost a decade ago.
What a fun stat you found.
Yeah. Well, that all thanks to our Stats Perform partnership. Shot him a quick email, said, hey, they just did this. When was the last time one of our schools did this? In like 30 minutes, they got back to me. So
nice.
It's been an awesome partnership. But Nick Vadiato, on the 2 scoring drives, 11 of 15 for 112 yards passing with a touchdown, 4 carries for 22 yards and a touchdown, which to me, having watched Nick for a few years now, he can run, but
Right.
we know that that's not part of his game.
Yeah.
So for him to be even, calling his own number, and extending plays like we saw in top plays, says a lot about, how he willed them to victory.
And I said it during top plays too. I really do feel like, it's a team effort. It always is. But I feel like Nick Vattiato said, you know what, as the team captain, as the proven leader of this team, like he really rallied them and got them back together. And like you said, scored that game-winning touchdown. And I was left jaw dropped to the floor that they made it happen in under 7 minutes there. And I'm sure Nevada was not prepared for that either. So great win for them. Also going into homecoming week for Middle Tennessee, I'm sure coming off of a win is a lot better feeling than coming off of a loss. So we'll talk about that game against Marshall too here in a couple of moments. But another statement win for a Conference USA team in Conference USA play. Louisiana Tech beats New Mexico State 49-14.
Sarah. The Bulldogs are legit.
Real deal.
Holy moly. I mean, yeah, the biggest thing that I just can't get over from this game, they had 406 yards in the first half. And again, going back to my great friends at Stats Perform, who helped me find this one, dating back to 2012, that was as far back as they could find this. Most yards by a CUSA team in a half by a lot. Like the previous record was 312.
Wow.
They had 406 yards of total offense. And honestly, like I was watching this, I was pretty in tune with this one just because it was a conference game. It didn't feel like they were, yes, there were a lot of big plays, but it just felt like every time they had the ball, they were, quickly into New Mexico State territory. They scored on 4 of their first 5 drives. The 5th one was a red zone interception. So they were already about to score again. So I've not seen this kind of offensive dominance because no one has in 13 years, but I've not seen an offensive performance like this from any of our schools in a long time.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting too because everyone talks about Louisiana Tech's defense, myself included, and they are very, very good. But the offense came out this week and proved that it's not just the other side of the ball that's getting the job done. Like they are getting the job done as well. We were talking about scoring differential throughout the season for La Tech, and this is counting a game against LSU last week. They're outscoring their opponents 80-37.
Yeah.
And so they're getting it in the end zone. They're getting the job done on offense, and they're getting the job done on defense as well. You saw Cam Franklin's interception there. 3 turnovers, I think, in the second half for New Mexico State. Yeah. So a lot of great things to talk about there on the defensive side of the ball as well. But I do really think Louisiana Tech's a complete team this year. Really excited to see what they did do in conference play. New Mexico State, lots of question marks there. We weren't so sure how they were going to look as the season got started, but a great win for them last week. And then they turn around and drop this game. So who knows? I don't know at this point, but
I think really, what you can take away is that, La Tech definitely a true contender in the CUSA title race right now. I think, we have talked a lot about their defense in the opening weeks. But to be able, see them kind of put everything together in a complete team win, as you mentioned. And Blake Baker really leading the charge here. He had 182 yards passing, 103 rushing yards, just the second quarterback in La Tech history to rush for 100 yards in a game. I mean, we know they've had dudes who can sling it, but now you're adding someone who can, be a dual threat quarterback.
Yeah.
And really it was everyone in this game. We saw Trey Kukuk. They had, multiple guys that were able to move the ball on the ground in this game. So, if they continue to be, that just scary from a weapon standpoint, that it doesn't matter who they throw out on the field, they're going to get yards. That's going to be a problem for some of our CUSA defenses. And I think another note on the, defense, I mean, they'd given up 2 touchdowns to New Mexico State in the opening half. Not that they were going crazy on offense, but they definitely had some adjustments to make, and they did. Shut them out in the second half. They only gave up 58 yards in the second half and then forced those 3 turnovers, as you mentioned.
That was absolutely my biggest takeaway after watching the LSU game is, goodness gracious, Louisiana Tech's defense is really freaking good.
Yeah.
And so now this week, to just put it all together in one complete game, they're going to be a little scary. And once we get to conference play, I can tell you that much.
Very.
Well, moving on, Kennesaw State gets their first win of the season against Merrimack College. I was watching that game. I will just be honest, there was some things to be desired after the first quarter, but then they started to put things together. Let Merrimack come in at the end there, but ended up pulling out the win 27-13. First win of the Jerry Mack era. Some good, I think, that we saw out of quarterback Amari Odom as well. We kind of talked about that actually in the lunchroom today. Just kind of seeing how he fits better maybe into that Jerry Mack offense. And what was your takeaway maybe from the game?
Yeah, I mean, I think I really liked what I've seen from Dexter Williams. I mean, we saw some good things in that first game against Wake Forest. I mean, he comes right out the gates in that first drive, leads him on a scoring drive down the field. But yeah, I mean, as these couple weeks have gone on, I mean, it's still too early to really say one way or another. But you've started to see him using Amari Odom a little bit more in these games, and I think because he's seen like efficient numbers out of him, he used 12 of 14 passing with 108 yards and a touchdown, and I think, again, Dexter Williams, great on the ground. He has had moments being able to connect with Gabe Benyard, some of these other receivers, but feels like Amari Odom might be a better fit to get this offense moving a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, we saw a lot of great things out of this defense. The defensive front was incredible in this game, as to be expected in a game against an FCS school. But you really still love to see that kind of dominance, no matter who you're playing, especially as you move into another really important non-conference game that we'll talk about later. Just a little bit more confidence to build on that defensive side of the ball. But they got their first win of the Jerry Mack era. So I'm sure those guys are feeling good, no matter how they, truly felt about the win. Obviously, you would have liked to see a little bit more, a little bit more one-sided score, but overcame a slow start, which I know is tough for a lot of teams to do. They had a big third quarter, so something we saw in the FIU game that we'll talk about more.
All right, I'm saving the Shula Bowl for last because we are going to be talking to an FIU student athlete here in our interview in just a second. We had some losses across the league as well, but some flashes of brilliance in said losses. So let's talk a little bit about maybe Missouri State and UTEP first against their Power 4 opponents.
Yeah, I think we went into these games with not very high expectations, to be totally honest. I was pretty shocked. Obviously, when Missouri State, goes up 10-0 on SMU, they forced turnovers on SMU's first two possessions, which, Kevin Jennings is prone to do.
As an SMU alum, by the way, saying all of these things.
I know it was. I'll save all my Homer SMU talk for another time. But no, I like that they came out strong in this one. Obviously couldn't, ran out of gas a little bit and just let SMU kind of, take this one. But I liked what I saw, right? I like being able to see them come out aggressive, forcing turnovers, being able to score on a Power 4 defense, a team that went to the college football playoff. And then, it kind of ties into, same thing with UTEP in Texas. Malachi looked, pretty good, 24-36, 209 yards. He did have a couple interceptions, but, I think you go to number 7 Texas and you only give up 27 points.
Not bad.
Ultimately I know it's 17 points, but, that's just over 2 possessions. Mm-hmm. So for you to come out of that when you're, a 40-something point underdog, got to feel pretty good if you're the Miners, honestly.
For sure.
Yeah.
And then obviously the other loss this weekend, tough loss for Liberty, dropping one to Bowling Green. They've now lost back-to-back games. Third time they've lost back-to-back games in the last 2 seasons. I'm not counting them out yet. I'm not. You never know with the Flames.
Right. And, with Jamie Chadwell on the sidelines, you definitely can't count him out either. I mean, he's an incredible coach and, he'll pull these guys out of that. But, we talked about it in the lunchroom with this one, too. I mean, there was just a lot of things that, just didn't go their way in this game that were frustrating. And, all you can do is just kind of take it on the chin a little bit and, figure out how to, get back there the next time. I think what we saw in the Jack State loss, and even this loss to an extent, it's the pieces are there.
Yeah.
Right? We know what they can do on defense. We know what Ethan Vasco can do. It was just a lot of just missed opportunities in this one and just some kind of, frustrating plays that, again, didn't go their way. But definitely don't want to count them out either.
No.
But I know that some of the Liberty fans on Twitter feel a little differently.
Yeah, but huge chance to just prove everyone wrong against James Madison next week. So we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But to round it all out, FIU beats FAU, and the Shula Bowl trophy is back home.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this was just an incredible win for FIU. I can't imagine for some of these guys that have been at the school, for a few years or even in Miami. I mean, we talked about it. We'll talk about it with Kejon too. Even just being from Miami and you see that amount of dominance from one team. I mean, they haven't won this game since 2016.
Yep.
It had to have felt extra good to, I've never seen this before, by the way, in a rivalry game, that they take the half of the helmet off the trophy and stomp it on the field. I don't know.
It's pretty awesome.
Just like picked up on that, a few years into the rivalry, and they're just like, I guess we'll all do it every year, or if that was part of the plan from the beginning. But that was wild, seeing them just take the FAU helmet and just put it on the field. And I mean, they were just going at it.
Gotta love a good rivalry. I love it.
You only see that stuff in these kind of rivalry games.
Yes. So, I mean, really great performances from Kejon Owens, who we will talk to here in just a second. Career night for him. Kewan Jenkins looked great as well. Lots of promise on the defense. Caden Veltkamp threw 3 interceptions. FIU, came up with some big turnovers. And so I loved watching this game. 2.5-hour rain delay didn't stop them from getting out there and performing well.
Yep.
Didn't stop the FIU faithful from getting in that stadium either. I was super proud to see them hang around and cheer on their Panthers. So I don't know what this says about the rest of the season, but we talked about it at the beginning. We think FIU is a very different team than they were in the past couple of years, and you could see that in this game.
Yeah. Well, and I think, obviously we'd love to see FIU win many more games this season, but I think for them, like, to win this one, not that this is their Super Bowl, but like, that's just got to feel good. It's something you haven't done in a long time. That's got to build a lot of confidence in those guys. And yet, I saw it on, in our Twitter mentions, just going back to the point about Caden Veltkamp. I mean, the FAU fans were like, hey, what the heck, guys? Like, we got this guy who was the offensive player of the year in CUSA last year, and he comes in and, he kind of struggled through the first few games. But I think this speaks more to this rising FIU secondary, that they've done a really good job building up with some great guys that they've had in the program, or some even freshmen, Spear Sterling, who's our freshman of the week, and some other guys they got in the portal. They brought some dudes in this unit that really were, creating a lot of havoc for the Owls all night.
And we talked to Kejon Owens about it here in just a second. Don't want to give too much away, but how Willie Simmons has just brought this. He kept all the good pieces that he needed to from last year and brought in so many good pieces as well. And is just really rounding FIU out to be a really great team. So excited to see what they can do. They have a conference matchup this weekend against Delaware, which we'll talk about here in just a minute. But before we get to that, let's talk to Kejon Owens, running back from the FIU Panthers. Joining us now here on CUSA Insider, we have, after a huge Shula Bowl victory this weekend, Kejon Owens, running back for the FIU Panthers, joining us here on the show. Kejon, thank you so much for being here with us today. Excited to talk about the big game over the weekend.
I appreciate you guys for having me.
I'm sure that you guys were celebrating plenty after that big win. Has it really kind of cooled off yet, or are you guys the vibe's still high in the locker room?
Yeah, so our coach, he has a 24-hour rule. So after 24 hours, we just have to lock back in and get back to the next opponent. But it was definitely a great moment after just years of those guys beating up on us. We just had to make our game plan a strong one so we could just pull this one out. It was a big one. It was a blessing. And just kept me more happy, excited just to see what we have coming store.
Well, hopefully Coach Simmons doesn't get mad at us for making you talk about this game more than 24 hours after the big win. But let's talk a little bit about the fact, like you said, it's in the first time in a while that you guys have beaten up.
2016.
Yep, 2016. And Kejon, I know you're a local guy. You're from Miami, so you've been seeing a lot of this over the last couple of years. You've been with the team since 2020, so it was y'all's time. So tell me a little bit about the celebration afterwards and just how excited you guys were.
We were very excited. It was a long time coming. I mean, after a rival like that, we treated the week like it was a game. We go harder in practice, we just do extra just to make sure that we can have that extra fight to just get us over the hump, because we just knew after we were down before halftime, we just knew we couldn't leave without that trophy. So we just had to do everything in our power, everything in our will to just keep fighting to the end.
You talk about something being a long time coming. I think for you, having been with the program since 2020, this is kind of your first year where you get to be the guy, the premier back in that backfield. You've obviously, you've done well in the first few weeks in that role so far. But just tell me what, I know you guys don't really like to lean on some of the personal successes all the time, but talk to me about, kind of that transition of stepping into that bigger role this year.
Man, it just takes a lot of hard work. You're gonna have ups and downs in this game, and I had to realize that I was going through my trials and my tribulations to be able to put me in this spotlight and put me in this moment. We work very hard in our running back room with Coach Hippolyte. He's big on the details and things like that. So, once you put it all together, man, I just thank those guys every day. I just make sure I let them know that I'm very grateful for the opportunity that he has presented for me. I never take it for granted, and then we just got to keep it rolling, man. Not get complacent, not getting comfortable with those things, and knowing that we have a long season and more time to go and more success to go after.
So take me back to mid-January. Both you and Kejon Jenkins, quarterback there at FIU, are in the portal. Kind of wanted to test your waters a little bit. I know there was some kind of transition with the new coaching staff and everything. Both of you guys in the same week, 2 days apart, make the decision to come back to FIU. Obviously, you guys were sold on what Willie Simmons was pitching, what some of his coaching staff was going to look like for you guys. Talk me through the decision. I'm sure you guys were talking plenty, but, being in the backfield together about where you wanted to go, if you wanted to stay. Just talk me through that whole decision.
Well, yeah, we did do a lot of discussing, and it was just about more of coaches. At first, I didn't know. I honestly didn't know. Going through what I was going through here at the program, and over time, I just had to pray about it. Talk to the man upstairs, and one thing that I wanted to just make sure I had a loyal coach and a coach that could feed into me. And Coach Willie, he was just that. He had my trust. We built that trust. We're still building more of a bond, we're just going through this season and having this remarkable season this year that we plan to have. And just Coach Hippolyte, a local guy himself. He's a great guy. His passion for the game. He reminds me of myself a lot when it just comes to the passion part about it. So it was a coach that I feel like we understood each other. We had a complete understanding. And with Kejon, him bringing it's the guy that I trust. He comes from where I come from, the Miami Central. And I just know if we could build that camaraderie and build that bond and just keep going and keep trusting, because I already knew he had something special. So once we just kept building and just kept doing the things we needed to do day in and day out, and just basically just getting that understanding, like, bro, this got to be the time. It's our time. And, that was just it for me. I'm a loyal dude. I'm not looking into always trying to go into the next or the next. It's a lot of NIL, a lot of pay, and a lot of things like that. I just wanted to be somewhere I was comfortable and happy and could win that and just be successful at. And, it's working out pretty good so far.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah.
You mentioned, it was your time, yours and Kejon's time, that it was just your year. And a lot of people around the country, especially people who cover Conference USA, think that this could be FIU's year as well. But you look at your stats personally, just compared to the last 2 years, just this year alone through 3 games, 322 total yards, 4 touchdowns, averaging over 107 yards per game. You look at last year, you had 392 yards the whole year, 4 touchdowns. You're already set to eclipse that number by a lot. So tell me a little bit, just, what's your mindset going into this season, just looking at the rest of the slate that you guys have left? I know it's next game up always, but what's your mindset personally and what you've been working on personally just to take this season by storm?
I know over the time, I knew what I was capable of. I know I left a lot on the plate. So just giving the kid that full opportunity, I know that I just have to make the most of my opportunities with this being my last year. It takes a lot of hard work, a lot of praying, God, just giving everything back to God, and I just can't. My thing is week in, week out, I try to not get complacent, putting that behind me, and just keep striving. On that is more to it. Just trying to get that extra edge to be able to help my team win each and day in, week in, week out. So that's all it just takes, man. Just my mindset is just every time my number is called, just try to make the most of it.
I know when we've talked to guys there in the program, they've said that under Willie Simmons, they've had more fun playing football than they've ever had before. I'm sure you could echo that, but maybe just expand upon that. Let us know, what has he done? What is Coach Hippolyte? You mentioned him, the running backs coach. What, the rest of your offensive coaches done so well or done differently to get so much more out of you?
They feed into us more. He feeds into me. Like I say, he's a high energy guy. He just the things his day-to-day sayings, his day-to-day words and things that he says to the guys and just the messages he relies, just let us know he has our best interest. Like you say, I am very much having the most football fun I had in my college career yet. This coach just knowing that the talent we have on our team, just knowing to not get comfortable. And I just love how Coach he feeds into the team more. Like the energy around the building is just better. It's just a winning atmosphere and a winning spirit. So day in and day out, we just try to keep that same juice going. It's just crazy how it works, but it's just I don't even know how to really explain it. But it's like with Coach Simmons, he has the winning spirit about him. So it's like once your coach has that about him. Your players are going to feed into that a lot. And that's just pretty much how it's going for us. We just have a winning spirit about us, a winning mindset, a winning edge. And that just create great habits for us.
Well, when you combine a winning mindset with winning on the field as well, I mean, perfect storm. Going back to that game on Saturday, you mentioned it a little bit. Going into the locker room at halftime, you guys were talking about, we just can't let them win this one. Well, you come out in the third quarter and score 21 unanswered points in the third. What were you guys talking about in the locker room that may have led to that big burst after the half?
Well, we knew we were the better team. We just had to do the little things right. Play Panther football, and just work on the things that we've been working on all year and the things we could see all year that we had in our room. It was a lot of self-inflicted wounds that we felt like we were committing for them to even be in the game with us. So once we just brought that urge out and that fight out and let it in, I had to go talk to the guys and end up shaking everyone's hand at halftime to let them know that we got this. We just have to be in control and just keep fighting, keep fighting. Never look at the scoreboard. Just keep going. And then we knew we had them once we locked in.
We talked about a lot of the special things going on there in the program at FIU. I think one that we need to talk about in particular is this running back room. I think even from the beginning of camp, people have been talking about how this could be a point of emphasis for you guys. It's obviously paid off. We talked plenty about your success, but we've seen also the success of guys like Devontae Lyons. We kind of saw him come on at the end of last year and saw really great snippets of him. You guys added Anthony Carey, a Georgia Tech transfer, to that room. He's proven to be a really great passing back for you guys. What's the mantra of the running back room that you guys have been able to really kind of succeed as a group?
Coach uses saying it's a new week to eat. So we all just feed off each other. I let those guys know. I've been at that younger role before, just know how it is. But you guys are very talented. We have a great room. So once we feed off each other and just go good on good and just show each other that we can really just make a dominant and be a great backfield in the country. Just let those guys know, man. We just got to keep attacking, keep going, never give up. We do all the extra. We know all the work we put in, and those guys are very talented guys. I just preach to those guys to just stay in the game. You never know who is going to be or what is going to be to change this game. We are game changers, so once we just get into that mindset and just keep going and keep feeding off each other, I feel like we're a very hard backfield to stop.
Well, the Don Shula Trophy is back where it belongs there at FIU, but you guys turning the page to this upcoming weekend, play a Delaware team who just came off of a great overtime victory against UConn, the first conference game for Delaware in their history, first Conference USA game, but the first conference game for you guys on your slate in the 2025 season. What are you guys doing to prepare? Is there a little bit of, probably not much of a heightened level of energy compared to the Shula Bowl this past week, but is there more? There's more at stake really with this game when you think about the fact that this will have implications on the CUSA championship later this season. So what are you guys doing to prepare for this week?
Well, Coach, he used the saying, Coach Willie Simmons, now it counts. So, we just going to treat it no different. We know what we can do. We just got to come in and stick to the game plan and trust our coaches and have the faith into the coaches. We're going to respect every opponent. We're not going to go and overlook no one, but we're going to make sure that we're paying attention to our details and our fundamentals and doing everything we need to do. And paying attention and watching great film, treating the practice like a game. So, because, once you go hard in practice and have a great practice, everything's going to lead over. So, we just got to do what we do, play Panther football, and we'll be pretty good.
Kejon, I think a big part of your game so far this season, I look here, you're tied for 13th nationally, runs of 10 plus yards, tied for 3rd nationally in runs of 20 plus yards. So obviously these big chunk plays are coming, plenty for you. What have been the biggest keys to that? I know you're getting some great blocking out in front of you, but have you also seen, is it a combination of that and some good play calling on the, the offensive coordinator side? What's been the biggest key?
Yes, it's a great play calling. Coach does a great job putting his best players in space to what we do. I give a lot of credit to the guys up front, man. Those guys work their tail off week in and week out. They do extra handy before and after practice. We just make sure we go over our checks, our blitz protections, and just know that once we get an opening, it's not too much we need in the backfield to make a play. And my coach always prides us on making that last guy miss. And once we get, he always says, once we get the first level is the offensive line, and the second level is where we make our money. So, just try to make guys miss in the open field, and put my team in the best situation to be able to win.
Well, Kejon, you've put out some gems of some great quotes during this interview, some great stuff that Coach Simmons has been talking about in the locker room. I don't have any other questions. Do you, Josh?
No, I'm good. Like you said, I was listening to the post-game presser after the FIU win, and I liked how I kind of skip ahead to one point, and all I catch is I'm a monster, I'm a dog, and I'm like, I just love the confidence. It's obviously well deserved and well warranted, but we joke around here about how much we would love to be in Pitbull Stadium in December for a CUSA championship game. Mostly just get down to South Beach, get some good food, but you guys have a chance at taking the first step towards that this weekend. I know it's one at a time, so really excited for this opportunity for you guys against Delaware in a big game.
Sarah, Josh, thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you. Thank you, Kejon. We really appreciate it. Who knows what'll happen this season? Maybe you'll end up with us on the program again later in the year, but good luck to you guys this weekend. Good luck to you personally as well. I don't know. I'm waiting for this stat line this weekend. It keeps getting better and better. Maybe we got another career rush yard game this weekend. We'll have to see.
Hey, Lord's will. We'll see.
Thank you so much to Kejon Owens for joining us here on CUSA Insider. He was a fun interview. He was nice to talk to.
Very fun interview.
What a humble guy. He was just he loves Willie Simmons. He loves the Panthers. He loves his team. I
love the dichotomy of coaches interviews versus player interviews, right? Because coaches interviews very buttoned up, there's kind of talking business, blah blah blah. But yeah, players, you get a little bit more emotion. You get and I know they try their best to flex their media training sometimes.
Yes.
But yeah.
I did appreciate, he was like, we're not really supposed to, we have a 24-hour rule. We're not really supposed to talk about our games, after. I'm like, hopefully, Coach Simmons, I'm sorry, but we got to talk about this Shula Bowl game. So it was great, but we are going to look forward to week 4. We've got 10 games this upcoming weekend. let's go ahead and talk about all of them. So we've got James Madison at Liberty, moved to ESPNU a couple of days ago. That's going to be 2:30 p.m. Central Time. As we mentioned kind of before we got into Kejon's interview, Liberty dropped a tough one against Bowling Green, looking to bounce back against James Madison. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention this off the top, too. 5 games against Sunbelt teams this weekend. A total of, 7 over the next 2 weeks?
Yes.
CUSA Sunbelt Challenge, I guess.
I know. I saw a couple people like, oh, we need to brand this or something. Because, I can't remember a week like this where we've had, this amount of matchups against a single other conference. So I think the word of the week is opportunity.
Yeah.
Right. Because we got to take, I think we've done a really good job at winning a lot of the games that maybe a year or two ago, like we were not winning these games. And so, Shula Bowl included, something they hadn't won in 9 years. So, again, these opportunities present themselves this week to really kind of, edge our way in the, G5 battle here.
Yep.
But yeah, start off with a great one. James Madison Liberty on ESPNU. I was really happy to see that one picked up because I think that it's awesome that we're, reuniting this rivalry between the two of them. Also saw later on in the week that they announced that they're adding a handful of matchups to this series. So they will play, I think, like 11 times in the next 15 years.
Nice.
Like that. A lot of people were trolling them because they're like, you guys added a game, for kindergartners and first graders that, because it's like 2040 is the last one of the series. And yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll see Liberty at home against James Madison. Regardless of how the game turns out, the atmosphere is going to be fantastic, especially with that rivalry kind of being renewed. But we'll have to see what happens there. As we talked about before, not counting the Flames out, but definitely have some work to do after losing 2 straight. So we'll see what they can do there against JMU. Next on the slate, an Arkansas State team, also from the Sun Belt, going to Kennesaw State team, who got their first win of the season last week. That game's at 5 p.m. Central Time on ESPN+.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for this one, we talked about it earlier, is just can they build momentum on the win against Merrimack? Again, this one, that was a win that we expected them to get, but now it's like, all right, you got to start stacking these wins if you want to prove yourself, as a good, an FBS team and a team that can, maybe not contend this year for CUSA, but here in the near future. Obviously, a cool note in this one, Jerry Mack's alma mater is Arkansas State.
Right.
So a little added edge.
I forgot about that.
Maybe he wants to, just get a little, nudge at his.
Rub a little extra dirt in it. I like it. That's awesome. Yeah, that's a good note. Yeah, well, again, another Sunbelt opponent that we'll see. Fifth Third Stadium, great place to watch a game, great place to play a game. So hopefully the Owls can edge out Arkansas State on that one. One that I know everyone in this office is definitely looking forward to, and hopefully all of you Conference USA fans will have an eye on this week as well. Delaware going to Pitbull Stadium down in Miami-Dade at FIU, 5 p.m. Central Time on ESPN+, the only conference game on the slate this weekend. And after the way those two performed this past week, I am really looking forward to this one.
Yeah, they could not have said it earlier. It could not have set the stage any better for a league game like this. The only one on the slate, as you mentioned. I think a couple things that I'm looking for in this one. Looking through some of the rankings coming out of week 3, FIU ranks toward the top of FBS in time of possession. They did a really good job of controlling the ball this past week by, with a successful run game. And that's going to be key, right? Because we know there's going to be points in this game.
Yeah.
Lots of points because both these offenses can score at will. If they can control the, time of possession, keep the ball in their hands, keep it out of Nick Minicucci's hands, you're obviously going to be in a good spot. And then I think the Delaware defense needs to step up because, you look at these last 2 weeks, they've given up 36 points per game between Colorado and UConn. They've shown to be a bend, don't break, again, got to give them some love because they stepped up where it mattered most in overtime against UConn. But you need turnovers, you need 3 and outs, you got to get Kejon Jenkins off the field, you got to get Kejon Owens off the field because we know what that Panthers offense can do if you continue to let them get closer to the end zone.
Right. And I think, too, these early conference games, it's tough, right? Because, we've thankfully we've got 3 weeks now under our belts to watch some of these teams play, but like this could have huge implications towards the CUSA championship in December. But to have to take it so early in the season with Delaware coming off of a huge win, with FIU coming off of a huge win, we'll have to see what happens. I'm super excited. Both two great quarterbacks who have years under their belt in their systems, and two great running backs in Joe Silver and Kejon Owens too that are just going to be lights out. So lots of scoring in this one.
I like.
Oh, I did just give you a little cue on. I'm watching you. So I think that this one's just really going to be fun. Lots of offense, like you said.
Yeah.
Both defenses will need to step up a little bit, but like we talked about earlier, FIU coming off of a game with 3 turnovers against FAU is huge for them. So
yeah, I mean, Nick Minicucci has played really efficiently so far this year. I mean, even against a Colorado team. So that's going to be another thing is, can the FIU defense, they just made Caden Veltkamp,
looks hilly.
Have a struggle night, but can they continue to do that against Nick too?
All right, moving on to our 6 p.m. games. We've got 4 of them, so everybody get your multi-view up and get ready. Murray State at Jacksonville State. Gamecocks back home after a tough loss against Georgia Southern, which I just realized we didn't even talk about earlier. we just skated right over that one. 6 p.m. Central Time on ESPN Plus.
Yep. Jack State had a lot going for them coming off that Liberty win, and they go into a really tough environment in Statesboro, having to people do not win at Georgia Southern. They showed a graphic toward the end of that game where it was like the top 5 teams in home win percentage over the last handful of years. Marshall was up there, which we already got one on them. With Missouri State winning up there, but unfortunately couldn't get a second. This was another game very similar to the Delaware UConn game where it was just back and forth. Our producer Dane was on that one. We were talking about it earlier, and Jack State, obviously they scored 34 points in this game. They ran the ball well. There was just, maybe a couple plays that, kind of changed the way this game went, and the defense just needed one more stop to get things, get it back in their hands. But this was just a great opportunity for them to get back home, kind of fine tune some things before they get back into conference play, just chance to rebound. So I think we, should expect a great Cam Cook performance against Murray State this week. A chance for Gavin Wimsatt to kind of build, his candidacy as QB1 for the Gamecocks. And this past week was Michael Petway's return to the field, so that was great for this offense. Hopefully, I'd like to see more from them as they continue to work him into that offense.
Yes, for sure. And that one again is at 6 p.m. on ESPN Plus. This next one again is also at the same time, 6 p.m. ESPN Plus. UT Martin at Missouri State. Let's get another win, Bears.
I know. For the Bears, I think, again, that loss to SMU was tough, but, there was still a lot of good things. I think their confidence is still riding high coming off the Marshall win a couple weeks ago. Again, another opportunity that, I kind of look at, and it's just another opportunity to fine tune before they got WKU coming. They're I forget where that game's at.
I don't know.
WK Missouri State. But before they face a really good WKU team, a chance to, for them to hopefully go out and get a big win.
Yeah, for sure. And I think I saw a lot of people on Twitter, a lot of SMU fans talking about how good they thought Jacob Clark was. And he's like really freaking good. And so hopefully he gets some good numbers this weekend against UT Martin. But we talked about this opponent earlier with Missouri State having beat them earlier in the season. Marshall at Middle Tennessee, homecoming week for the Blue Raiders. Coming off of a win against Nevada, can they get it done against the Thundering Herd?
Yeah, lots of storylines in this one. You're riding the momentum off the big comeback. Homecoming obviously comes with a lot of festivities. They've got Kevin Byard that they're honoring for their Hall of Fame game. And then I think another thing just kind of off the field with this game is, I hate to bring it back up, but, in the home opener, they pushed this whole big push about Phil Floyd. And, you go out and lose to Austin Peay. Can you keep the fans bought in, right? Because I know in some of our communities like this where, if the wins aren't coming, people aren't coming, right? So, a chance for them to say, hey, all right, we just got this big win. Let's come home. Let's build on it. Let's keep you guys, in it. Especially since I know a couple of years ago when, WKU and Middle played, their big rivalry game early on in the season. People didn't love it, but they also were like, well, okay, at worst, these teams are 1-2 coming into this game, so the fans are still bought in. But so they still have that one looking forward to, to look forward to in November. But yeah, I got to keep the buzz. I got to keep a good environment for the guys on the field.
Yep.
But one thing with middle that we've talked about for a while, and I'm sorry guys, but Nick can only do so much for the Blue Raiders, right? Like they need more. We've always been saying like they haven't had a consistent run game. The defense has had moments. I mean, they had a great performance against Nevada. They went down, 13-0 in the first half, pitched a shutout in the second half, make some really big plays that got him a Defensive Player of the Week this week. So it's there, but it needs to be consistent.
Yep.
So I think that's my biggest thing that I'm looking for from them in this one.
Yeah, and Marshall, a former CUSA foe. That's not necessarily a rivalry, but, they've been there. They've played them before. There could be some fans around that want to see Marshall play Middle Tennessee again. Another Sun Belt team coming in for a Conference USA opponent this week. So, yeah, looking forward to that one. Again, homecoming, so hopefully there's some pomp and circumstance around that game. Kevin Byer being inducted into the Hall of Fame. So that game, again, is 6 p.m. ESPN Plus. Our final 6 p.m. Central Time game on ESPN Plus this week. Nevada again. They're back.
Yeah.
At WKU this time.
I know. We were joking about how many teams we play twice. And UT Martin was
UT
not one.
I thought about that.
We didn't say that one earlier.
Yeah.
But, yeah, and I got to imagine for like WKU, they probably had their eyes on that one. More so, because they wanted to see middle, but also they're like, hey, we're playing this team too. So double scouting report. But you made a really great point earlier when we were talking, like having that Toledo loss sit on your tongue for an extra week had to suck.
Yep.
For this team, because that, it was just a disappointing loss. There was a lot of buzz going into that one because they were both, top G5 teams. And, I'm just interested to see how they come out, how they've, managed to put that behind them, how they're looking to move forward from it. But a chance for Maverick Kyver, Matthew Henry, and co to kind of go back out and make a statement, again, before that big Missouri State game next weekend.
Yep. I think that, you look at, too, what Middle was able to do against Nevada. WKU was able to look at that. You were right. Double scouting report. How lucky for them to be able to.
Right.
But, there's some other ones on here that have gotten some double scouting reports against some teams as well. But they kind of saw the magic that happened in the second half. If they can try and recreate some of that magic on their own side with the tops, then who knows what'll happen. I feel bad for Nevada having to come in and play a CUSA team 2 weeks in a row. So we'll see what happens. All right, 6:30 p.m. Central Time on ESPN Plus. I'm looking forward to this one. Southern Miss, another Sun Belt team, another former CUSA team at Louisiana Tech. I think this is going to be a really good game, and I think that this is really going to show a lot from the Bulldogs one way or another. So tell me a little bit about what you're looking forward to in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest note that I wrote down is Bulldogs are eyeing their best start since 2020. That's the last time they started 3-1 in their first 4 games. So something that they haven't even done under head coach Sonny Cumbie. That was also the last time. I was going to say the last time they went to a bowl game. Before that,
not quite.
Yeah, I forgot they went to the Independence Bowl this past year. But before that, it was 2020. So yeah, I mean. Other storylines in this one, I think the question kind of has to be asked because of the rotation you've seen at the quarterback position through the first 3 weeks as they kind of try to find an answer is who is QB1?
Who is the quarterback? Yes.
I think based on this last week, you have to imagine it's Blake Baker. Had an incredible performance, but we've also seen a lot of great things from Trey Kukoc. Haven't really seen Evan Bullock. We were kind of all surprised and maybe that wasn't a surprise to some in the La Tech community, but obviously after last year, we thought that he would be more involved. So yeah, it's just going to be seeing, do they continue to rotate through just on a matchup, or scenario standpoint, or do they just kind of lean into one guy forward?
We'll have to see. And I mean, when you talk about the matchup too, you've got Southern Miss sitting, I think, at 2-1, right? Against the La Tech team sitting at 2-1. Both of their losses are to SEC opponents. Southern Miss has lost to Mississippi State. LSU obviously beat Louisiana Tech last week. So I think that this is a lot of the Sun Belt fans, the CUSA fans are really looking at this game to see where these teams are going to lie. And we talked about, it's huge implication for conference championships when you're playing a conference game. But I think we're going to learn a lot from this team. Can they really go out there, show that what they're made of, that they can be in a CUSA championship game later this season? So I'm excited for this one.
And I think beyond that too, right? Like I think I can firmly say that I think they're a CUSA contender right now.
Yeah.
This win is what puts you on the map of being a G5 contender.
Sure.
Because, I mean, just hypothetically, let's say that, La Tech a few months from now is 12-1 with a CUSA championship under their belt, and their only loss is a 2-possession loss at Death Valley against LSU. I mean, that's a decent resume.
Right.
Now, again, that those 12 wins are going to be a lot of CUSA schools who metrically are not the most favorable, but that has to be said of just like, hey, this could happen. If your one loss is that's not a bad loss to say. If they go out and lose to LSU 27-13 in the playoff, people are like, oh, hey, they
admirable. Yes.
So I think that's what I'm looking out for. Again, just kind of coming back down to earth a little bit here and coming back to week 4 is that's your chance of like, hey, this could be a turning point of, all right, we already showed that we, can compete just fine against CUSA schools. Now it's okay. Hey, can we make a statement among all of the G5 teams right now?
Love it.
Yeah.
All right, Bulldogs, let's do it. All right, 7 p.m. Central Time on SEC Network Plus, ESPN Plus. We've got Sam Houston at Texas. We saw UTEP go into Austin last week and put on a pretty good performance. Obviously, a 17-point loss when they were 40-plus point underdogs. Pretty good, I would say. Can Sam Houston go into Texas and do the same?
We'll see. Right. I mean, if I'm, on their defense, I'm studying everything they can. We'll save the Arch Manning debate for another time. But regardless of how you feel about him, UTEP went out there and made him look pretty pedestrian. So if I'm Sam Houston's defensive coordinator on their defense, I'm saying, all right, whatever they did, we got to try and match that. If we want to give our offense a chance to make this game interesting. Obviously a lot of question marks still with the Sam Houston team through the first few weeks, just a lot of inconsistencies. Haven't been able to get, too much going on offense. They've changed quarterbacks, new, kind of a new-ish system. So it's a tall task for the Bearcats, but they had that chance to reset a little bit after the loss at Hawaii. I know that travel had to be a grind. So to be able to catch back up from the first couple weeks, give your body a chance to rest a little bit before a big game. Who knows? Who knows?
That's right. Tune into that game, 7 p.m. Central Time on ESPN Plus. Our final game of the evening, ULM at UTEP, again on ESPN Plus, coming off of a pretty good performance against Texas, as we mentioned. Sun Belt foe going into the Sun Bowl to play a game. Great venue. Maybe we can see a win from the Miners this week.
Yeah, I mean, opening week against Utah State, that was one, again, we talk about these opportunities against the G5 conferences and how important they are. That was one where, I wasn't sure what to expect from this UTEP team then, but I was like, all right, this is kind of our first litmus test for them. And it was fine, right? They went out and they lost, but, Malachi had made some good plays. This is now another opportunity where it's, hey, it's another Sun Belt team. And we need to see some consistency from this offense. We saw some really great things when they beat up on UT Martin a couple weeks ago, but need some consistency in the offense. And for Malachi, for him to really kind of put a stamp on someone and say, all right, hey, we're going to be a special team. And then, on the other side of the ball, the Wee fence as Scotty Walden has, deemed it. They are chaotic, top 10 in sacks and tackles for loss. They have some dudes that love to live in the backfield. Yep. So Godspeed to the ULM offensive line and their backfields in this one. But just need to see them put both pieces together again, like they did against UT Martin, get a win against the Sun Belt.
All right. Everyone's going to be talking about it on Twitter, I know. So can we get the winning record against the Sun Belt this week? I think we can.
I know we like to, say we're all friends, and we are. I know a couple people that work in their office that are truly friends of mine, but on the field, we got to get some wins. Yeah. We need some wins.
So looking forward to that. If you didn't write down all of the games and the times for those games as I was running through them, remember, you can always go to conferenceusa.com and check out our schedule page. And you can do that as well for women's soccer and volleyball, which we've got in full swing right now as well. But some housekeeping things to get out of the way before I let you go. Thank you guys so much for watching. Obviously, if you are watching us on video, you found us on YouTube, and you can do that each and every week. Just search Conference USA on YouTube, and the CUSA Insider podcast playlist is sitting there right at the top of our YouTube page. And if you're listening on audio, you can always find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music. And make sure you're following us on social media at CUSA Insider Pod so you never miss a new episode. All right, guys, that's it for us. Week 3 is behind us. Week 4 is ahead. Excited for some really great football this weekend. Thank you so much for listening to CUSA Insider, the official podcast of Conference USA. I'm Sarah Rudolph, signing off.